Hey guys, welcome to Pillbox Movies. I'm Hank, and today we're going to be watching the 1979 sci-fi drama Stalker. So here we find ourselves again with the old master Andrei Tarkovsky. If you're fans of the channel, you may know that we've already watched one other Tarkovsky film, Solaris. And that helped break a lot of preconceptions and reservations I had about the director. I'd seen some of his later, perhaps more mystical work, and it had been a little bit of a difficulty in wrapping my head around, if Tarkovsky is an enjoyable director to watch. Not to say that he isn't, deep and profound, just enjoyable. But Solaris turned me around on a lot of those ideas. It was a really thrilling kind of expedition into the sci-fi world, while also retaining Tarkovsky's own particular and unique vision and fascinations, interests, obsessions. Stalker tells the story of three men journeying into the outside world to find a place known as the Zone, where apparently there is a room that will grant any who enter it their innermost desire. That sounds like an interesting pitch, an interesting elevator pitch. I, as a Hollywood executive, am loving it. Let's watch Tarkovsky's Stalker. And if you like the sort of videos that I do, press the like button and subscribe. Ooh, what is this? 1.4 by 1 ratio? Is this 4:3 ratio? Academy ratio? People laud Wes Anderson all the time for having weird aspect ratios. Look at this. Stalker did it first. It's a joke. It's a joke. Do you guys think I should watch War and Peace? Or Napoleon? I have a lot of long movies on my list. I really gotta strike them down. I got Satan Tango, Human Condition, just finished Fanny and Alexander. I'm working myself to the bone. To the bone. What is it? A meteorite? A visit of inhabitants of the cosmic abyss? One way or another, our small country has seen the birth of a miracle, the Zone. We immediately set troops there. This is annihilation. They haven't come back. Then we surrounded the Zone with police cordons. Perhaps that was the right thing to do, though. I don't know. From an interview with Nobel Prize winner Professor Wallace. Is this taking place in England? Professor William Wallace? Is it taking place in Scotland? We always love the stillness of a Tarkovsky piece. It really sets you in a particular mood, a mood that I'm ruining now by talking over it. A rumbling happening. Is this for medical use or for recreation? There's our boy. Nice, luxurious pans. Every frame of painting. Would have loved this movie. I have a lot of respect for every frame of painting. I believe I saw a Q&A once where somebody requested why they had never done a Tarkovsky retrospective or a Tarkovsky piece, and they said that, Tarkovsky was such a huge looming luminary that they had so many ideas of things that they want to say about his works that they didn't feel prepared yet or ready to release any kind of definitive video on the subject. I have a lot of respect for that. Not reminiscent of my apartment. That was a nice transition from the background to the foreground. We like that. I really want to spend a day with a focus puller. Just see how they do the job. I can hear the studio that this ADR was recorded in.
Она же к тебе еще и привыкнуть не успела. А ты опять за старое? Ведь ты же собирался работать.
Did he just brush his teeth and now is starting to eat?
Будь проклят день, когда я тебя встретила, подонок.
I'm trying to remember if I've seen a good relationship in a Tarkovsky movie. I think in Nostalgia they were doing okay. I don't remember that movie perfectly though. Oh wow, we're feeling all of that.
Не надейтесь на летающие тарелки, это было бы слишком интересно.
What a way to flirt.
Потому что если Бог это тот самый треугольник, ты не знаешь.
Is he trying to get her to join into a threesome?
Это за мной. Прелестно. Прощайте, друг милый.
We will take note, though, that he discusses the banality of a triangle this early, and their crew will be comprised of 3 people. Probably the only movie in history that is sympathetic to 3 bald men. Really beautiful looking landscapes, as per usual with Tarkovsky.
Если угодно. Вас зовут писатель. Треугольник АБЦ равен треугольнику А', Б', С'.
Man, he really does talk like a writer. He just has like this catalog of intellectual pleasantries that he tosses out in every single social situation.
А вот вам зачем? Вдохновение, профессор. Утеряно вдохновение. Иду выпрашивать. Люкер, если я не вернусь, зайти к жене.
It's the alleyway from On the Waterfront.
Не двигайтесь.
I really love these kind of industrial sites. It really does have a nice apocalyptic feel. I can't believe these are all kind of just discovered locations. Oh. Wow. How did they even plan that? Okay, I guess it was just one train. That wouldn't be too difficult. But what wonderful locations. I wonder how much they actually had to dress all this up. This is going well. Tarkovsky knows how to, pace a chase scene. This is basically Drive. This is a really, really brilliant set. I want to know where this is shot. Not a set, a location.
The location, send me the location, send me location.
I actually wonder if Nicholas Winding Refn watched this as a reference point for shooting the opening sequence to Drive. Ooh, what intense driving. This is a lot more energetic than I've come to expect from Tarkovsky movies. I said before in my Solaris video that I appreciated, while I like his more meditative transcendental works, I do like how flexible and imaginative he becomes when he has to work within the confines of genre. So, while as a filmmaker I can appreciate that Tarkovsky doesn't always want to indulge in, shock and entertainment and thrill and suspense, it's really fun to see how he, manifests those aspects when he has to within the confines of a say, a sci-fi drama. I'm beginning to see what Kiyoshi Kurosawa meant when he said that he takes inspiration from Tarkovsky with these kind of like very, very open, remote master shots. Just really, really genius location scouting.
Они нас не догонят? Да что вы? Они ее боятся, как огня. Кого?
I can kind of see Alex Garland taking stuff from this, in addition to Solaris when mapping out Annihilation, or if not Alex Garland, then the writer of the original piece that Annihilation is based off of. No, he goes for even longer. Tarkovsky uncompromising with these long shots. I was wondering where the cut would be between these two characters. He doesn't even cut; he goes for the pan. He has a nice cut around the back of his ears. It's very clean. Can't say it's that clean at the nape of his neck, but very clean around his ears. I actually like this shot a lot. I can see how this would upset people, but I really like it. It's definitely my preferred version. Oh, that's so beautiful. It's definitely my preferred version to a similar kind of like long transportation shot he did, or sequence he did in Solaris, where you were like stuck inside of this car traveling in some district in Japan or in Tokyo, meant to kind of represent the future, and it just kept on going. Maybe I just understand or appreciate him better as a filmmaker now, but I like this a lot more. I especially like that it's been blocked to show their profiles or filming them from behind. I think that's like kind of just like easier, or provides more visual nuance for an audience member than a full-on frontal shot where you're kind of like forced to obsess over their facial expressions. I'm guessing that was a night shot, and we've transitioned into morning or daytime. Otherwise, you could interpret it that the quadrant that they were in lockdown had like a different artistic feel to it, and so now they're in the outside with the colors exploding, like in Wizard of Oz or like in THX 1138. Man, what happened to these like areas in Russia? Really, really nice location scouting, I gotta say. Really, really nice.
Мы дома. Тут так красиво. Тут ведь нет никого. Мы же здесь. Он годами людей в зону водил, и никто ему не мог помешать. Мой учитель. Он мне глаза открыл. Вот тогда не дикобраз, а так и называли. Учитель.
Now he's called Porcupine because he can't let anybody near him.
Сломалось в нем что-то.
A lot of visual interest in Tarkovsky's works.
Куда это он?
I can understand the appreciation. Oh god, I'm going to get into a Tarkovsky versus Kubrick debate again. I can understand the appreciation for filmmakers like Kubrick and Wes Anderson, who kind of utilize this rule like a kind of Renaissance single-point perspective framing. I like, in terms of the chaotic nature, some of Tarkovsky's compositions. He uses a lot of diagonals to cut up the frame, and like I guess I'd say works in 45-degree angles, where we kind of like think of Kubrick or Anderson as working in 90-degree angles.
Почему? Тише. Это что еще такое?
By the way, if you've never done it before, look up videos of mountain cats screeching at night. It'll give you nightmares. You gotta get out of New York sometime, get back into the wilderness, get some little sluggies on my fingers. God, I wish that were me.
Вот тут
поползли слухи, что где-то в зоне есть место, где исполняется желание. Да ничего я не думаю. Что угодно.
Interesting contrast of like the sci-fi exposition dumps between this and Solaris. I'd say this is filmed with a lot more kind of like style to keep you kind of like curious. But I would say that like Solaris had a more difficult concept to try and expound upon. Like in Solaris, it was like a bunch of scientists like recalling what happened with like a human probe landing on like an alien planet, and their really odd experience with that. It was a lot more difficult kind of like expositional construct to try and convey. Those electrical poles looking at like a bunch of crosses buried in the earth. And it kind of lends itself with the to the Academy format to be playing a lot more with depth in this, as opposed to with like compositions of width. They're kind of like using the nuts like a reverse Hansel and Gretel to like map out where they can step. All those tanks, man. Where do they get all this stuff? I like don't usually think of Tarkovsky as like this kind of like big production kind of filmmaker, but obviously he needs to have some connects to get these. I mean, they could just be like, you know, constructing the outer artifice and whatever, and they don't have to be actual functional tanks. But I'm just saying, from a production perspective, this is like a lot more ambitious than I usually perceive Tarkovsky's work. Look how distant that is. That is insane. What a huge wide shot. I'm nervous. What is happening? Why are they taking this like this specific route? I'm like worried about somebody just sinking into the ground like in a Princess Bride. Okay. Have fun. Good luck. I'm glad he has like concern for his welfare, but you know, sometimes you just gotta let an asshole die out. It's managing to build like a lot of tension with very minimal trappings. With very minimal trappings, like this is like the bare essentials in establishing kind of mystery and suspense. What is going on?
Зачем вы?
Что? Зачем?
Зачем вы его остановили?
Как? Я думал, это вы.
Turn back, oh man, forswear thy foolish way.
И все они смертельны.
It's like the gourmet world in Toriko.
Но все, что здесь происходит, зависит не от зоны, а от нас. Хороших она пропускает, а плохим отрывает голову.
No, nothing so moral.
Не знаю, не уверен. Мне так кажется, что пропускает на тех, у кого надежд больше никаких не осталось.
It's like crazy to think that all of these are kind of like just like discovered environmental elements, like just shooting on a day that a fog is suddenly conjured up. And only at that space. I mean, it might be created. We might give too much credit to Tarkovsky of like finding all of these things like organically, and the sounds of animals within like a foggy morning, like an owl hooting and stuff, might just be generated in post. But yeah, these discovered elements are really beautiful.
Поэтому что отвердело, то не победит.
Mountains may depart.
Черствость и сила – спутники смерти.
It's an interesting idea to posit.
Гибкость и слабость выражают свежесть.
Надо вернуться.
Это невозможно.
Да я не могу без рюкзака.
Здесь не возвращаются. По прямой метров 200. Да только здесь не бывает.
This is interesting. This kind of like roaming memory loss and stuff.
Оставьте свой ползучий эмпиризм.
I mean, I guess they explored this in Annihilation, but I'm trying to remember what else had this kind of
Помните, как чуть не утонул святой Петр?
plot construction. In a way, this movie's kind of like,
Профессор,
it reminds me of like, you know, The Floor is Lava in its construction. It's taking like these kind of like found environments and stuff and then superimposing upon them like an imagined scenario, and it kind of like allows the actors and also the audience to kind of like use their information to fill in the gaps. Like we're constructing this world where there's like dangers on every path except for the ones that these characters are tracing, and it really is kind of like we're all participating in this game of The Floor is Lava. Where is the professor? Really fascinating. I didn't realize that Tarkovsky like created like the, you know, the One Piece New World trope. He literally created the gourmet world.
невероятно, но как вам удалось обогнать нас?
His hand's just all the way in that fire.
Обогнать нас.
Oh man, they went backwards.
За рюкзаком.
А откуда здесь наша гайка?
Yeah, not that like Tarkovsky would have ever anticipated this, but it is kind of harder to track which character is talking if you're not a native Russian speaker because of his predilection for having characters speak with their back to the cameras, off camera, etc., etc.
Веники несу. А я вот за всю жизнь не видел ни одного счастливого человека. А я тоже. Ведь желания исполняются не мгновенно.
That dog is looking to his trainer for instructions. So is that happening in the past? That's a memory of his that he's carrying? Ooh, that is so cool. I've been like trying to think of like a landscape along these lines forever since I saw it in Good Night, Mommy. I have never seen it in any other movie until now. A kind of like undulating landscape. That is so cool. Am I like visibly confused at this point? Is that a gun? Is this kind of like, you know, that scene in The Fountain tracing the evolution of mankind's follies? This great waste humankind has brought onto the earth.
Это что же? Тут мне как-то идти первым нежелательно. Простите. Видимо, надо тащить жребий. Вы не против? Длинная. На этот раз не повезло. Иду.
It's like metaphorical and stuff. How far can you walk alone on a path? This section has like done a lot to actually try and make an argument for the writer as a character. It's kind of like ennobled him to take this path alone and have the other two characters hang back out of fear. And as soon as I say that, he pulls out a gun. I wonder what this was shot in. What is this strange location that they found? What are all these locations that they found? It's really a strange peek into some of the lesser focused on aspects of Russian culture. A lot of abandoned towns and building complexes. We like that a lot. That's a nice little reference to a Bresson shot.
Писатель, назад! Да верните же, самоубийца! Я же вам сказал ждать у входа! Стойте, не двигайтесь!
What just happened? What's happened? It's a long way down.
Ведь я раньше думал, что от моих книг кто-то становится лучше. Да не нужен я никому. Я сдохну, а через 2 дня меня забудут и начнут жрать кого-нибудь другого.
That's a fair assessment. That's like a really kind of a terrible thing to kind of reconcile if you wish to see yourself as like a moral artist or a moral writer or a moral filmmaker in the part of Tarkovsky, that your works may serve no moral purpose and may not affect a meaning in somebody else's life.
Они ничего не желают знать, они только жрут.
And you haven't even seen the world that's yet to come. What would Tarkovsky think of YouTube?
Jesus.
Вы меня извините, профессор, но я не хочу сказать ничего.
I was actually wondering that too.
Почему-то вас выбрал своим любимым. Зачем вы так?
The way he threw away the match without letting the other two see it.
Мясорубка. Слово-то какое.
Спички — это ерунда. Еще там, под гайкой, зона пропустила вас, и стало ясно. Уж если кому и суждено пройти мясорубку, так это вам. Я никогда сам не выбираю, я всегда боюсь. Вы не представляете себе, как это страшно ошибиться. Но ведь кто-то должен идти первым.
Да. Нет, это не клиника.
Okay. Weird diversion.
Видите ли, кто-то должен идти первым. Как вам это нравится?
LOL, what?
Не трогайте!
Now call yourself from the future, 5 minutes into the past. It was a time travel movie the entire time. Tenet.
9-ю лабораторию, пожалуйста. Ты меня слышишь?
Я немедленно сообщаю в корпус безопасности.
Можешь. Можешь сообщать, можешь писать на меня свои доносы, можешь натравливать на меня моих сотрудников, только поздно. Я ведь в 2 шагах от того самого.
That conversation went well.
А ведь это вопрос времени. Не сегодня, так завтра. Все эти несостоявшиеся императоры, великие инквизиторы, фюреры всех мастей.
He's going to destroy the room.
Зачем вы?
The light went out like it did in the first scene. That's an interesting reference. Ooh.
Смотрите-ка, замечательное снотворное. Сейчас такого уже и не выпускают. Откуда здесь столько?
Yo, somebody tell Beth Harmon about this room. A porcupine. Porcupine. Or the little brother of Porcupine.
Одну минуточку. Не надо торопиться.
А я и не тороплюсь никуда.
Вот мы с вами стоим на пороге. Это самый важный момент в вашей жизни.
This movie builds a lot of anticipation.
Здесь исполнится ваше самое заветное желание. Самое искреннее.
I've really not seen so many movies like construct so much anticipation out of so little. Like, I don't know if emotionally this is like one of my favorite film experiences, but in terms of the artistry, like how much is like made with so little material is really astounding. I haven't even considered up to this point if like this might even just be a fool's gamble, but this is like such a like a really reduced down kind of parable for desire and the trial that one undergoes in order to satiate the thirst of desire.
Главное, верить.
Вуаля, перед нами новое изобретение профессора.
Это всего-навсего бомба.
Что?
Просто бомба, 20 километров.
You maybe should not have told this to Stalker.
Зачем?
To destroy the room so that nobody else can use it.
Никому, как видно, никакого счастья место это не принесет. А если попадет в дурные руки. Но пока эта язва здесь открыта для всякой сволочи, ни сна, ни покоя. Или, может быть, сокровенное не позволит.
It's an interesting test. A test of principle and of will versus desire. It's not your job as a stalker to stand between man and his desires. Your job is only to shepherd. You can't comment on what people go to the room for.
За что? За что же меня? Он же хочет это уничтожить. Он же надежду вашу хочет уничтожить. Отдайте!
And again with that backgrounding and foregrounding. Interesting stylistic tricks that Tarkovsky's decided to employ in this movie.
Единственное место, куда можно прийти.
Please don't tell me, though, that this is a story of science destroying hope or faith.
Ведь вы же пришли. Зачем же уничтожаете веру? Замолчи!
Плевать ты хотел на людей. Ты же деньги зарабатываешь на нашей тоске.
Interesting commentary on religion.
Ты же здесь царь и бог. Ты, лицемерная гнида, решаешь, кому жить, а кому умереть.
Это неправда. Вы ошибаетесь. Нет, я ничего не сделал. В этом мире ничего не могу здесь сделать. Я жене не смог ничего дать. И друзей у меня нет, и быть не может. Но моего вы у меня не отнимайте. У меня и так все отняли там.
Writer monologue, professor monologue, stalker monologue.
Счастье мое.
What are you gonna do?
Все здесь. А я могу, понимаете, я могу им помочь. Никто им помочь не может, а я гнида могу.
А что ты там в голос кричишь? Здесь то сбудется, что натуре твоей соответствует сути, о которой ты понятия не имеешь, и она в тебе сидит, и всю жизнь тобой управляет.
I just want to say something really stupid for a sec. This is actually this question of your innermost desires being at conflict with your most outspoken greatest desires is an interesting overlapping point with dating websites and dating apps. Back when OkCupid used to have like a blog and they kind of published some of their like scientific or statistical data from what they'd gathered on their website, one of the principal issues they identified in matchmaking is that people's stated desires was sometimes at conflict with their innermost desires. So people have kind of an objectivist view of what their stated desires are, what they look for ideally and principally in a potential partner, that may be at odds with a subjective or kind of contextual desires that they need, that they subconsciously want, or wants or needs that they have that they want met depending on the context. That's always kind of a point of tension in both Stalker and in dating apps, of how can you properly balance what your stated desires are and what your innermost desires are. That's all I wanted to say. And again, going with the conservationist theme in this, it is, you know, might be kind of tropey or cliche, but the sounds that are coming from the room are sounds of mourning, naturalistic, and with, you know, birds chirping. And again, going with the floor is lava kind of construction of this movie, playing very, very deeply with our sense of imagination as an audience, filling in as many gaps as possible. But why? I wish bombs were this easy to defuse. Jesus Christ. Absolutely no unstable elements in there whatsoever. Just 20 kilotons of inert materials. It's a Stranger Things shot. They've all grown closer together from this experience. Morning glow, morning glow.
Навсегда. Никого здесь нет. Никто их нет.
That's an interesting take on what Stalker's desires are. Isolation. He wants isolation, but he also wants the trappings of family and relationships simultaneously. Oh, that's beautiful. No idea where that landed. Those are cool kind of fractal patterns that the rain is making in the water. It looks like cross-hatching. Just continuously casting away all the earthly possessions he was bound to. Blood in the water. Oh, monkey. They brought the dog back with them. That's cool. I feel like that that table is blocked differently from how it was in the first scene. I remember it being closer to the windows, but maybe they wanted to give space for the dog.
Вернулся. А это откуда?
Там пристало.
It's like the first episode of The Simpsons, Santa's Little Helper. Homer doesn't know how to get all the gifts needed to have a good Christmas with his family. In the end, it turns out all they needed was the dog.
Ну что, пойдем? Мартышка ждет.
Ладно, пойдем.
And this is in color too. That's interesting. I do like this kind of parallel in the way that the Stalker carried like does escorts people to like the room of happiness and stuff. He's escorting his child here as well. The idea that he's in some ways his role is as a beast of burden, and that is something that is like perhaps noble as about his character, when previously we may have derided him for it and seen him as lower and more pitiful. Stalker really kind of like represents a lot of my world values. I too enjoy just like lying down everywhere. God only knows what I'd be without you. Stalker equals Oazard Balthazar. Don't wanna be your beast of burden. Never, 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 never be.
Разве такие могут во что-нибудь верить?
Успокойся.
Никто не верит. Не только эти двое. Никто. Не пойду туда больше ни с кем.
The burden of being a creature of faith.
Он же сталкер. Он же смертник. Он же вечный арестант. И дети. Вспомни, какие дети бывают у сталкеров. А только что я могла сделать? Я уверена была, что с ним мне будет хорошо. И горя было много, и страшно было, и стыдно было. Такая жизнь, такие мы.
This little bald baby. I hope that's a boy. And they didn't shave off this girl's head for like a couple of scenes in a movie.
Люблю глаза твои, мой друг, с игрой их пламенно-чудесной, и словно море.
Is that the poem that the brother had? It sounds different.
Угрюмый, тусклый огонь желания.
Xavier's School for gifted young. Why did that musical cue pass with the train? Was just that like just a flash into her head for a second? It was Indian. I didn't think the music sounded particularly Russian. So there's Indian music, there's Armenian and Azerbaijan music. Okay. It was an interesting movie, definitely. It was definitely an interesting movie. A lot to think about, definitely. A study of desire, a study of memories, philosophical arguments, and a test of faith in the case of the main character of Stalker, and perhaps of the other two as well. Though perhaps their test of faith isn't as stated as clearly as the Stalker's. If I take this film to be in some ways an examination of the story of a quest, let's say it's like the story of Galahad and the quest for the Holy Grail. You have characters that are searching for something that represents a great desire, and at the end they never achieve the goal of their quest. The thing that they want is so monumental, or their desires, or their kind of like their frailty or their humanness is at odds with the completion of the mission. If we take that to be the story that's being told here, a story of characters pursuing a goal and then abandoning it at the end, that's actually a story that I've wanted to tell for most of my adult life. I've had that kind of story as like an archetype, and how I kind of like understand desire, I guess, or understand need and want in a narrative form or in a metaphorical form. I kind of like view desire as being emblematic of this need for change, and so the goal itself isn't important to a certain degree. It's a red herring, or it's a MacGuffin, and what's being expressed is the internal change of a character in search of a goal or in search of meaning. And I think that in some ways Stalker is presenting that story, but this manages to take this construct, this idea of a journey or a quest or an expedition, and reduce it down to its bare essentials, where you kind of understand, you almost understand it as a parable. This is what happens to the human heart when it has needs. This is what happens to the human heart when it endures trials in order to meet those needs. And a really kind of like a really kind of like fulfilling development for me in the last segment was how for the Stalker, this was actually a test of faith as well. This for him was like Sir Gawain trying and failing to reach the Holy Grail. His desire as a man of faith to kind of to shepherd people to faith and to discovery, and to have that need kind of squandered or ruined repeatedly, and to have his faith kind of tested. It is like a really gratifying kind of interpretation of this idea of faith, that it's like that faith for some is it's a transferable trait. It's something that is sustained and gains new life and new and renewed meaning through sharing with other people, with expressing faith to others and having them understand and open themselves to faith. Metaphorically, using faith as an expression of like, let's say, artistic faith. As an artist, Tarkovsky also has a form of faith that he wishes to express through people, through film, that I can see, and especially from a monologue that the writer has during the middle of the film, that there is this conflict with Tarkovsky, that artists have this desire of faith to transmute their faith and express their faith, to pass it on to other people not being other artists, other people being an audience, the people who have the least kind of literacy and the least kind of access to it. You want to share your faith and your belief, your love and your passion. You want to share that artistry with an audience, and having the audience reject it or misunderstand it or not appreciate the minutia or the esoterica that you've inserted into it, it can be really trying as an artist, and it can cause you to lose faith when people deal in trappings of like, blockbusters or movies that are designed based solely on their exportability and their spongeability and their memeability. It can be a real trial as an artist or as a person who loves art to wish to want to share that and be vulnerable in sharing your vulnerability with that art, and have it not be understood or appreciated by other people. And like, despite that, you like have to pick yourself up and try it again. Yeah, I think it's a really great film in terms of like what the characters see, what the characters experience, and what we as an audience see and experience with them. utilizes the audience's imagination so powerfully, and I can kind of see how this film, like when watched in like a theater or when watched with other people, conjures up a feeling of collective unconscious, that we're all seeing something that isn't really there, and that kind of shared experience could be like really powerful. Yeah, this is like in almost like an anti-Lord of the Rings kind of way. I don't know why I bring up Lord of the Rings. I'm not dunking on Lord of the Rings, but just to present a difference of approach. This relies so heavily on suggestion and intimating things to the audience and like bringing the audience in, as opposed to directing them with like literal objects and like CGI castles and ring wraiths and stuff. This uses imagination so abundantly. It's a really kind of it's a really captivating and parable-like kind of film. So yeah, that was Stalker. It's a lot to think about, really, a lot to ponder. While it wasn't like as emotionally gripping for me as Solaris it was, it really has like a puzzle box kind of construction to it, where I really feel the need to kind of parse out the ideas and the themes and messages in this film a lot. So that sounds like your bag. You should definitely check out Stalker, and check out, Tarkovsky in general, obviously. Yeah, really great film. Really, really great. So yeah, that was Stalker. If you enjoyed this video, click the like button, and if you want to see more stuff like this, consider subscribing. I don't know, let's check out Ivan's Childhood, or if we want to get real funky, maybe we'll check out Steamroller and the Violin. But yeah, until then, keep watching good movies. See you next time.